One of the things that people are often concerned about after they've been seriously injured is how they're going to pay for medical treatment. And if they have a family, they realize every time they're paying a medical bill, they're taking money out of their family's pockets.
Mr. Semelroth was able to get us a settlement that we are able to take care of the insurance companies, pay for the car that was destroyed, hospital bills, doctor bills that will continue, physical therapy bills. So we were able to walk away knowing that I would be able to take care of myself physically.
People who are injured by trucks are often catastrophically injured or killed, and they need the very best representation. And the only way you can provide that is if you have cutting-edge knowledge of the regulations and the technologies that apply to trucking in the United States.
You can't do any better. Once you see him in court, it's a different story. His command of the law in the face of the state's best attorneys, they were no match. They were simply no match.
The first time I met with them, Tim was very empathetic, asked questions, went through the process of what it would look like, what he would need from us, what we could ask them or expect from them. It felt like whatever it was we were carrying around, he kind of took it off our backs.
So when someone calls us for the first time, the first thing I want to do is I want to understand the nature of the event, what caused you injury. That helps me understand what kind of investigation would have to be done into the liability issues in order to prove your case.
The first time I met with Tim by myself, he put me at ease right away.
He wanted to take care of as much as he could without involving us.
Second, I want to understand your injury, and I want to understand where you are in your treatment journey so that I can determine whether or not we need to either encourage you to take additional steps or point you in the right direction so that your injuries are being appropriately diagnosed and documented. And then third, I just want to orient you into this system that you've been thrust into, which is you are now in a situation where the insurance company may be spying on you online before they ever consider a settlement. They're going to have the right to look at your medical records and how they're going to evaluate your medical records.
He just wanted to make sure that he could do all that he could before reaching out, which was very thoughtful, honestly.
And so I want people to know all of those things so that they can make good decisions while they're healing. And then finally, I'm going to want to learn about any insurance companies involved, because if they do hire me, I want to be able to deal with all those insurance company hassles for them so they can focus on healing.
Long before I was finished healing, they were working. They aggressively and actively chased down my insurance providers. They aggressively chased down the insurance adjusters. I was never made to feel like a pest.
Once a client gets to the stage of their recovery that doctors call maximum medical improvement, what that means is that the doctor is saying, I think you're as good as you're going to get. You're probably not going to get any better.
Really thought my ribs and neck and back were healing, like the pain was still there, mobility was still less. At least a few weeks when it was like finally hitting us that this isn't getting better. Now what do we do?
At that point, we have to sit down with the treating doctors and find out from them what the future is likely to hold. And we try to get that in writing. We try to get documentation of that. And if it becomes clear to us that the treating doctors either don't have the qualifications to do that kind of medical forecasting or aren't inclined to do it, then we're going to connect our clients with a doctor who's going to take the time to read all their medical records and issue a report that says this is what the future treatment's going to be. Also, having up-to-date knowledge about the trucking industry can be pivotal in these cases. For example, if you aren't familiar with the federal regulations that apply to truckers, you don't realize the requirements that truckers have to slow down or to even get off the road in bad weather. That isn't just a recommended practice. That's actually the law.
There was no wait or confusion about really anything. I feel like that's important, especially when you're just going through the motions of an accident or death.
Knowing that lets you know not just the accident happened, but why it happened. And if you can prove that was a decision made in a boardroom or in the dispatcher's office, it can make all the difference in the world in getting a fair settlement.
Tim always made us feel welcome. He made us feel positive. And he listened to what I had to say. Overall, the experience was more than we expected it to be. But Tim, he walked us through it. That made it a much easier process for us.
Any chance that I have to help somebody settle their case or go to trial and get a verdict that's going to give them the money they need to get the medical treatment that they need for the rest of their lives, I feel really good about that.